I'm Joshua Mann, one of the owners of B&B Rare Books.
I'm Sunday Steinkirchner, the other owner. We're both Geneseo class of 2003. So we own B&B Rare Books. We buy and sell rare books and manuscripts. We mostly sell 19th and 20th century literature. And these are some of the ways you can identify a rare book.
There are some just general identifiers out there. So like for instance, if a book ever says that it's like a second printing, 35th printing, something like that, then it's obviously not a first edition. But when you don't have those statements, it gets a little more difficult. So some books may have a particular code or something like that that designated whether it was that first printing of the first edition. Always the easiest way is when a publisher just says first edition or first printing on that copyright page. So, and you do see that quite a bit after, I would say, about 1930, 1940.
A special binding can make a book valuable. If it's signed by the author or the illustrator, that can be valuable. If books have special illustrations, if it was a special edition, that can make it valuable. But just because they're old doesn't mean that it has any value.
And then the other thing too is like sometimes you might find a book that is a first edition and then think, you found a book that, let's say, is worth $10,000 or something like that, and then only to realize that because it was missing that piece of paper that wrapped around it, the dust jacket, it's only worth a very small fraction of that. So here's a great example of George Orwell's first book, A Burmese Days, where the book itself might be worth maybe $500 to $1,000, but because it has this rare piece of paper as it was issued, it's worth over $20,000 just by having that piece of paper there. So if you find a first edition of it, great. If you have the dust jacket, that's 100 times better.
There are a few online resources. abebooks.com, abebooks.com is a very good resource. You have to kind of be careful though, because any bookseller can put any book for any price on there. So sometimes we'll get people saying, oh, I saw this for $1,000 on Abe Books, but that means it's an unsold copy. But in general, you can usually go there to see what the first edition is. If you're looking, oh, what date was this printed? When was the first time? What was the first publisher? You can get general information like that. For value, that becomes a little more difficult to assess, which is why people come to us. There is no hard and fast rule to figure out what is a first edition and what one is valuable, how much is it worth today, what was it worth before, what could I sell this for? That's why people come to booksellers, because we have that very specific set of knowledge. I love my life, I love what I do. We created this business out of scratch, and every day is different. And in general also too, we get to travel a lot, we get to kind of go on the mystery and the hunt and the discovery, so it's really fun.